At Selena's 28th birthday party, someone straight up handed her a guy right in front of me. I wasn't gonna be my usual quiet self, no way. I smashed a wine glass and totally trashed the place, then packed my stuff and left. Everyone kept saying I wouldn't last 3 days on my own and would come crawling back. Selena didn't care either. She thought, where would an orphan go without a home? But those 3 days turned into who knows how many, and people started wondering if I had died out there. That's when Selena finally called, only to find out my number was disconnected. Later, there was this painting at a famous artist's exhibit that threw Selena off. She offered a ton of money for it. Maggie, the artist, apologized with a smile. I can't part with it. It's the best portrait I've ever done of my husband. At Selena's 28th birthday bash, I wore my sharpest, most expensive suit. Selena held my arm as we made our entrance, but she let go the moment we got off the steps, leaving me there in the dust. Everyone's eyes followed Selena, and I was left forgotten in a corner. People kept giving her gifts, and she just told the butler to take them without much interest. Then someone gave her a gorgeous guy, and suddenly everyone was looking at me. Pity, curiosity, mockery. I've seen way too much of those looks over the years. For a moment, Selena seemed stunned. That guy looked too much like her long-dead first love. Gifting someone a man in front of Samuel? That takes some guts. Selena smirked while the gift giver flattered her. Samuel is generous, I'm sure he won't mind. It wasn't that I didn't mind. They just figured I wouldn't dare to mind. I was an orphan raised by the Smiths. How could I possibly defy Selena, the new head of the Smiths? Selena played with her wedding ring, her eyes full of amusement. If Samuel's okay with it, take him away. Before she could finish, I was at her side, really eyeing this man. The gift givers knew what Selena liked. At that moment, I just felt exhausted. I couldn't keep up the act of being an ideal husband anymore. I gently knocked over a beautiful champagne tower. The glass and wine spilled everywhere, creating chaos. Someone shouted, "Samuel's gone crazy." I'd wrecked Selena's birthday party, but she didn't really care. The butler was already organizing the guests to leave, and the mess would be cleaned up by the staff. That guy, Michael, stayed beside Selena, quietly, just like her first love. Compared side by side, it really did make me look insane. Selena toyed with Michael's fingers, casually speaking to me. Why so mad? If you don't want to see him, I'll have him stay somewhere else. Don't worry, I promised Grandma I'd never touch your place. Even Michael chimed in, trying to console me. Samuel, why get upset? A woman like Selena wouldn't have just one guy. I admire her but won't mess with your status. I took off my ring and set it on the table in front of Selena. She raised an eyebrow. I said, "Here's your ring back." Selena picked it up and tossed it in the air. The diamond ring glinted, then fell back into her hand. She threw it behind her to the guy. "Here, take it. A ring worth millions, Samuel doesn't want it." Selena stood up, gave a cold laugh, and told the butler, "Teach them some manners. I don't want to see such disrespectful things again." Then she walked a few steps but turned around once more. She tossed her own ring on the ground. It spun around before stopping at my feet. "If the ring's not wanted, then let's get rid of them all." Selena walked off with her entourage. The sound of car engines revving was extra loud in the night. Aunt Chun sighed next to me. "Sir, why make Selena mad again? You know she has issues with you." I picked up the ring at my feet and tossed it into the trash. "Go ahead, Aunt Chin, you don't need to worry about me." The butler sighed and left. Alone, I went upstairs, changed out of my fancy suit, and into a white t-shirt. I grabbed my suitcase and stuffed all my clothes from the closet inside. Other married couples might worry about a divorce agreement when they fight, but my connection with Selena was so flimsy, just a wedding ring. No one would have guessed that the city's blockbuster wedding didn't even have a marriage certificate. I remember what Selena said at our wedding. "On my residence book, only Jack's name can be there. Samuel, we shouldn't have gotten married." Yet I still married the girl I had loved for 7 years. I thought I could win her over eventually, but in the end, I ended up being a husband in name only. When I left with my suitcase, the whole villa was quiet, a lot like the rainy night Grandma first took me in. 13-year-old Selena was on the stairs, looking at me coldly but then heading to the kitchen to bring me a warm glass of milk. I booked a flight, a 6-hour journey followed by a 3-hour drive, back to the small southern town. People say when you're old, you want to return to your roots. But actually, even someone who's homeless misses home, even if there isn't a single relative there anymore. I rented a small yard in town. The local dialect was familiar yet strange. I was too young when I left, and then I was always in a city, so I'd forgotten how to speak it. Thankfully, the neighbor next door was also from out of town, just having arrived earlier than me. While buying groceries, I didn't understand the old woman's dialect, but she helped me out. The next day, I made some braised pork to thank her for her help. That's when I found out she was a painter here for inspiration. It looks like I'm just out of college, brimming with youthful energy, so far away from the people and things in City A. In this simple environment, I suddenly remember I'm only 25, yet I always feel like I'm already ancient. I bought some flowers on the street, planted roses all over the little courtyard. There's a small rocking chair next to the flower bed. It's humble, but it fits my taste perfectly. The Smith's garden is filled with Jack's favorite magnolia trees, and there's an expensive piano in the glasshouse. Selena got it specially for him back in the day, and no one's allowed to touch it. Back then, when Grandma wanted to replace those magnolias, Selena was furious. She said, if the magnolias were gone, I wouldn't need to come back either. No one's brought it up since. Jack and those magnolias became a restricted area in the Smiths. In the afternoon, there's a knock on the courtyard door. Maggie's wearing a hoodie with a backpack and a bright smile. I'm planning to paint tomorrow's sunrise up in the mountains. Want to come along for some fresh air? She gestures toward the not-too-far mountain behind us. I know it's somewhat famous. Most tourists around here come for that mountain. I'm tempted. Don't worry, I camp a lot. It's really safe and I'm experienced. Her enthusiasm wins me over and I nod. Maggie is, like she said, experienced. She quickly returns to her place and grabs another bag. She's carrying all the camping gear herself, along with painting tools. I tried to help, but she refused firmly. Don't underestimate me, carrying this is a piece of cake. On the way up the mountain, we talk about our pasts and futures. My story seems dull, always centered around the Smiths, around Selena. And in the end, I became a name-only gentleman for the Smiths. But Maggie's different. She's full of fresh stories and dreams. Life's an experience, she says. My dream now is to become a famous painter. You gotta chase your dreams, right? She whispers with a grin. I ran away from home. If you find the house next door empty one day, maybe I got caught and taken back. I look at her and smile. Didn't expect us both to be escapees. Yet, she has someone who'd drag her back if I vanished. Selena might celebrate. Reaching the summit just in time for sunset. The warm golden light gives everything an unreal beauty. I gaze at the small town below, enveloped in golden light, quiet and serene. Maggie's already busy setting up the tent. I ask her if she's going to paint the sunset. I love sunrises more. She says, every day's a new beginning full of possibilities. Watching her work while sitting on the stool she brought, her words about a new beginning keep replaying in my head. Leaving the Smiths was the bravest thing I've done in years. Yet, I feel like a cowardly fugitive. Running to this remote town, hiding in a small courtyard. I never thought about the future. Should I spend my life in that little garden? I'm just 25, and the future holds infinite possibilities. Maggie finishes the tent, gives me food and water, and sprawls on a mat beside me. Want to try looking at the stars like this? It's different. At the Smiths, I was always told what to do. They'd often say, "Sir, this isn't appropriate for you." Staring at stars like this never crossed my mind. But Maggie doesn't give me a chance to think. She pulls me down from the stool onto the mat. Quickly lie down. And I do. Suddenly, the stars seem close enough to touch. Lying there with Maggie, staring at the vast sky, we talk about everything. I make a decision in my heart, be brave and step out. Running away doesn't solve anything. I should meet new people, see the world, and make her presence insignificant. I fall asleep, feeling safe as ever despite the simple tent. In the morning, fuzzy-headed, I step out of the tent. Maggie's already set up her easel, looking serious. The rising sun gently caresses my skin, feeling like a new beginning. I gaze at the horizon where the sun rises. Stay still. Maggie's voice startles me, and I freeze, watching her from the corner of my eye. Seems like she's using me as a model. After she finishes, I stretch my sore neck. Being a model is tough. Let me help you, thanks for modeling, Maggie says. Her hands offer a soothing massage, and I close my eyes, enjoying it. Descending the mountain, she talks about her inspiration. I looked at her painting, it's nice, but I can't tell much else. Back home, she disappears into her place. I turn on the TV, and Selena's sudden appearance makes me jump. I almost changed the channel. Grateful I made the decision last night. Selena's on TV and online a lot. I can't keep avoiding it. In the interview, she looks unchanged. Asked about the marriage rumors, she's indifferent. My husband's just throwing a tantrum. He'll be back after a break. Everyone envies me, the orphan raised by the Smiths' grandma, lucky enough to marry Selena. But only those in it know the truth, ignored by everyone, resented by Selena, having a title but feeling like a rootless duckweed with the Smiths. Every year, when the magnolias bloomed, Selena would have the staff cut the flowers from the garden and fill the house with them. The piano in that glass conservatory was dusted daily by the staff. Jack was gone, but Selena constantly reminded me of his presence. I heard you and Samuel had a fight because of your new assistant Michael that you've been keeping close lately? Selena frowned impatiently. A habit. Reaching for a wedding ring that was no longer there. She realized Samuel, this time, was stubborn enough to return her ring and even dared to sneak away. She remembered the call from the butler that day, panicking because Samuel had disappeared. When she got home, she found Samuel's half of the closet emptied. Only her skirts hung there, looking lonely. His running away was just a ploy, forcing her to get rid of that man who resembled Jack. She knew he treasured Jack's things the most, let alone someone who looked like him. But so what? With Grandma gone, he had no family, only relying on her. As a kid, he'd hide alone when upset. Grandma used to spoil him, but she didn't have that patience anymore. Once he'd had enough hardship outside, he'd realize the Smith's goodness and come back sooner or later. So she told the butler, an orphan like him has nowhere else but the Smith. Don't bother looking, let me know when he's back. Under Selena's impatience, the host quickly shifted the topic from relationships to business. Talking about work, Selena visibly relaxed. Samuel seemed to be a topic that made her frown every time. I poured myself a glass of ice water and started working on my resume. This little town mostly had senior folks left. It's great for retirement but lacks job opportunities. To work, you gotta step out. I kept writing until evening, finally stretching and thinking about dinner. A simple 3 courses and a soup meal. Sitting at the table, I wondered if Maggie next door had finished her work. When she painted, did she lose track of time and meals like Selena at work? Back when Grandma was alive, Selena had stomachaches a few times from skipping meals. So whenever I could, I'd take her food to the office. Initially, her secretary would block me out for hours, but she got used to it, letting me interrupt for a meal before resuming. I sighed, grabbed my coat, and knocked on Maggie's gate. No response from inside. Just when I was about to leave, the door opened. Seeing me, Maggie's irritated face broke into a grin. I was painting you and look, here you are. Maggie held a brush, clothes smeared with paint, some on her face too, looking a bit messy. But her beaming smile made the paint marks charming, adding some vitality to her. You haven't eaten, right? Want to join me for dinner? Hearing my invite, Maggie clutched her stomach, dramatically realized, oh, I'm starving. You're so sweet. Let me put down the brush. In the following days, Maggie and I seemed to reach an unspoken agreement. She'd come over for meals, then help clean up, even taking care of the garden. I wish I had a sister like her. She'd be wonderful. I sent some resumes to a few companies and got interview invites. On the day I decided to leave, I got up early to say goodbye to Maggie. Opening the door, I saw several black cars parked in front of Maggie's yard, guarded by suit-wearing men looking like bodyguards. I hesitated for a few minutes before approaching, and one guard tried to stop me. "Don't touch him." Maggie emerged from the yard, the sunny cheer gone, replaced by a collected calm. She grabbed my hand, taking me inside, closing the door firmly behind us. "Don't come in." The bodyguards exchanged glances but eventually nodded. "Coming for dinner?" Without the guards, Maggie seemed back to her cheerful self. "No, I came to say goodbye." Maggie's voice raised a few notches. "Where are you going?" I told her about sending out resumes and landing interviews. "Despite this place being great, you said that day on the hill, every day's a fresh start, full of possibilities. I want a new beginning for myself without regrets. So, have you let that person go?" I was taken aback, looking at her. Maggie blinked. Don't underestimate the eyes of an artist. Hearing it aloud made me a bit embarrassed. "Yeah, I guess I have." "So where to work?" "City A." I considered moving farther from Selena, but since Grandma took me in, I've lived in City A. This is where I grew up, studied, and made friends. Why should I let Selena force me to adapt to a new city? "Then I'm coming with you, my family's here now." Unexpectedly, I hitched a ride with Maggie back to City A. The thought of facing Selena again paled against Maggie's enthusiastic plans. Back in City A, life seemed to fall into place. I got the job with a start next week. Rented an apartment near the office. Maggie, disappearing for 2 days, reappeared as my neighbor. Taking out the trash, I saw workers moving furniture next door. A quick glance spotted tall Maggie inside, directing the placement. "How'd you end up here?" "I was planning to surprise you, but you found out anyway." Maggie casually walked over and took the trash bag from my hands. "I've been missing your cooking, so I came back to be your neighbor and mooch some meals." Her appearance was quite a nice surprise, actually. Living in a strange place, having her as a neighbor adds a sense of security. "All right, I'll cook a few dishes later to celebrate your move." For convenience, we decided to have hot pot at home. The spicy broth was bubbling away, and Maggie picked up some freshly cooked tripe and put it in my bowl. Just one bite had me grabbing the drink next to me, gulping it down to cool off. "You can't handle spicy food, can you? I thought you loved hot pot." "It's fine. Maybe I just haven't had it in a while and I'm not used to it. Can't even remember the last time I had hot pot. I used to love it. When Grandma was around, she'd join me. She had the mild broth, I had spicy. Once, Selena worked late, and the food I brought her had gone cold. Started to snow lightly, and I suggested we go out to eat. We went for hot pot. Selena always preferred mild flavors, so I ordered a pot with mild and spicy. But she frowned the whole time. On the way home, she said, "Let's not do that again, it leaves you smelling like spices." I haven't had spicy hot pot since. If you don't eat something for a long time, even your taste buds forget it. But soon enough, I was sweating, enjoying the hot pot nostalgia. After dinner, Maggie cleaned up the table, tidied the kitchen, and opened the windows for fresh air. She took out the trash before leaving. Life back in City, it turned out more peaceful than I expected. No media buzz about my absence, and the Smith had no one looking for me. I've always been someone the world doesn't notice. But the media is curious about Selena's assistant, Michael, who's always with her. I scrolled through the paparazzi photos with a sense of irony. Does Selena really love Jack that much? In the pics, Selena lets this guy adjust her collar, watches out for her when getting in the car. When it rains, he holds the umbrella for them, keeping it more on his side. Can love shift so easily? Like over a similar face? Selena keeps a tight lid on info about Jack. No photos ever leak. People are guessing if I've been totally disregarded by Selena. If I were still in the Smith, maybe I'd be waiting for a wife who doesn't come home. But now I'm busy with plans, meetings. Busy. "Maggie, I've told you. Stop cuddling me like a kid." I push the head resting on my shoulder away. Maggie just pushes my laptop away and says, "I'm a beautiful woman here. Why are you zoning out on some older chick?" It's the first time I've heard Selena called an older woman. Can't help but laugh at the thought of Selena's face hearing this. After I finish laughing, I see Maggie's got a serious look. Is she the one who broke your heart? Groups Selena, I know her. I gave her a surprised look. I don't recall seeing Maggie at the Smith. Mom used to have me call her Auntie. I couldn't help it. I clutched my stomach, laughing and falling onto the couch. She's only 4 years older than you. Calling her Auntie is a stretch. Maggie pinched my cheek. She looks old for her age. Selena got involved with the family business young, always more mature than her peers. It's not wrong to say that. So, you're the missing Samuel from the Smith? Maggie's face is suddenly too close. I realized I'd somehow ended up resting on her lap while laughing. Wanted to push her away and sit up, but she wasn't budging this time, insisting I answer her. Yeah. So, am I your hidden girlfriend now? Maggie cracked up after her own joke. I gave her a playful swat. Don't say that. Plus, I've left the Smith and returned the ring. I can get a lawyer you can file for divorce tomorrow. Don't need to, we never had a marriage certificate. I gave a bitter smile. Without a certificate, there's no need for divorce. The only tie we had was that ring talking about marriage. Guess I was Samuel so long. Selena even forgot we never really had a marriage certificate. Good. Get one with me then. Staring at the fresh marriage certificate in my hands, I was in a daze. Years ago, I thought it'd be Selena's face next to mine on this certificate. Never thought the bride wouldn't be her. Last night, after Maggie sweet-talked me, I agreed to a fake marriage to keep her family off her back. Maggie snatched the marriage certificate from my hands. I'll show this to my folks first. My mom thinks I'm pulling a fast one on her. This marriage feels unreal. 3 years ago, a grand wedding had ceremony but no legal docs. All show, fake happiness for outsiders. Now, we got the paperwork, no ceremony, but I feel content since there are no expectations, no disappointments. Maggie came back with good news after showing her family the certificate. My parents agreed to let me hold an art exhibit. This work is my best so far. A month later, Maggie's exhibit was a success. That day, I had to work late, so it was almost 8 when I got off. Rushing to the exhibit, I thought I saw someone who looked like Selena. Shook my head, probably just someone with a similar build. Inside, many of the paintings were familiar. 5. A bunch of guys walked by me, all excited with their sketchbooks in hand. Hurry, hurry, Maggie's up ahead. We gotta get her autograph this time. One of them said, I heard this is her last art show. If we miss it, we might never get her signature. I followed their gaze and spotted Maggie, surrounded by a crowd. She was patiently signing for people with her head lowered. I thought this was her first art show. How could it be the last one? I glanced around and saw the introduction about Maggie near the entrance. Turns out, she's already a well-known artist. With her previous works toured nationwide and sold for sky-high prices. I suddenly felt hesitant to approach her. The Maggie described there didn't quite match the sweet girl I used to know. I quietly left. On my way out, I saw Selena on the phone by the roadside, looking frustrated. Apparently, I wasn't mistaken before. Selena kept dialing a number she never used to call. She knew she'd only hear that mechanical voice saying Samuel's number was disconnected. But she realized she had no one else to contact to find him. Thinking of the face I just saw at the art show, a hint of unease flashed in my mind. The thing she was most grateful for about Samuel was his background. No family, seemingly few friends, all in all, no ties. Only she and the Smith could be there for him. That's why she always thought, even in death, Samuel wouldn't actually leave the Smith. The butler mentioned the disconnected number once, but she didn't care. Unless he died out there, he'd come back at some point. The butler was shocked, but she scoffed. How could he? She thought. If something really happened, the police would have contacted his wife by now. Yet months passed and Samuel never showed up. When she saw that painting at the show, her heart raced. The portrait looked so much like Samuel but also not. The man in the painting had eyes more vibrant than the rising sun, too bright to look directly at. Samuel wasn't like that. He was more like a still pond, never making waves. Even clay figures have a bit of temper, but Samuel was soft like water. Poke him a little, and you wouldn't even squeeze out a word of anger. He'd just hide away if bullied. She once saw him crying alone near the glass greenhouse. At the sound of her footsteps, he'd dart away like a frightened kitten. She couldn't stand his lack of backbone. Despite being Samuel, he'd only put on a show outside, reverting to himself back home. She wanted to buy that painting for him to hang up in his room, hoping exposure would change him. Maggie said, "It's the best portrait I've done of my husband. Sorry, can't part with it." Hearing that, she felt oddly relieved. The man in the painting wasn't Samuel. But as soon as she left the show, she was desperately eager to contact Samuel. "It's been too long, a little fight should end by now." Yet the endless mechanical tones made her impatient. She turned to her bodyguard. "Find him and bring him back." When the Smiths' bodyguards knocked on the door, Maggie was setting the table in the dining room. As soon as the door opened, the guards rushed in until she stopped them. "Who are you looking for?" Their eyes landed on me, holding a spatula. "Sir, Selena wants us to bring you back." Hearing that title after so long felt surreal, like a blast from the past. "What are you talking about?" "He's my husband." Maggie shoved at them, and they exchanged looks. One of them called Selena. "Selena, he seems to be married." Selena was there sooner than I thought. In just a few minutes, she stood at the door, furious. The bodyguard stepped aside, and Selena tried to push past Maggie. "Get her off," she barked at the guards. "Selena, you barged into my home, trying to take my husband. That doesn't seem right," Maggie said. Selena finally looked at Maggie directly. "So the man in your painting is my husband? Shouldn't I demand an explanation?" "Explanation? We're legally married. He's my rightful husband." Selena sneered, locking eyes with me. "Samuel, what's this? You went and got married without telling me? Come back now, and I'll forget this ever happened." She stretched her hand toward me. Before, every time she reached out like that, I'd hold her hand without hesitation. But this time, I didn't move. "Selena, I already returned the ring. We're done." "Done? After all the Smiths did for you, you think you can just say we're done?" Selena's eyes turned red. Maggie didn't notice her rushing in and grabbed my hand like she might break my wrist. "Go divorce her now. Isn't marriage what you want? Divorce her and we'll get married." I slapped Selena across the face. Everything went still. It seemed like forever before Selena understood what I'd just done. "Selena, are you out of your mind? I've left the Smiths. I don't want that marriage certificate anymore. You can take whoever you want home, Michael or the kid he had with his ex, Swecky. It'd be better if we both moved on. Why should I let you go? You're someone the Smith raised. If you're gonna die, you should die with the Smith." Selena suddenly scooped me up, but as she reached the door, she was stopped by a bodyguard coming out of the elevator. "Selena, if you dare take him away today, I'll charge you with kidnapping. You don't think I can't even protect my own husband, do you?" I was pretty shaken up. I never imagined this scene would play out. I thought if I left, Selena would feel relieved. I figured if I suggested we part ways, she'd be glad. Who's she putting on this act for now? No idea who threw the first punch, but suddenly, chaos erupted. Maggie stood in front of me, calmly directing her family's guards, creating a standoff with Selena's men. Luckily, Maggie had the upper hand. "Selena, we're living in a society with laws. This isn't the sort of thing you should be doing. You might want to avoid it in the future." I tugged on her sleeve, worried Selena might retaliate later. Selena had never looked so beaten down in her life. Her bodyguards weren't looking too good either. "Take her home and don't come looking for me again." I pulled Maggie back into our place. She turned to closely inspect my face. "Honey, she didn't hurt you, did she? Were you scared?" I shook my head. "I'm fine. Don't call me that. We're just in a fake marriage." As soon as I said that, she leaned in and kissed me. "That works even better than medicine. When Selena was here, you didn't mind me calling you husband." I handed her a glass of water. "You said we'd just get a marriage certificate, not an actual marriage." Maggie grinned triumphantly. "I just wanted a legal title so that woman couldn't take you. That's marriage fraud." "Yeah, I traded going back to the company for my marital freedom. If it's fraud, then I've given my whole life to it. If you divorce me, I'll be husbandless and stuck working forever. How tragic. I finally got why she said her last art show was the end. I poked her forehead. Are you silly? Then don't leave me. At least then my latter years can be painfully blissful. I nodded and Maggie pushed her luck. Honey, can I kiss you openly now? Before I could answer, her kiss landed. Things got out of hand. Maggie acted like a kid finally getting candy. By the time I wanted to push her away, I was like melted butter. Maggie, don't worry, I'll be gentle. In a daze, I finally got what Maggie meant by saying she's good with endurance. Maggie moved us to a new place. She said it was to keep Selena from bothering us. The new spot was peaceful for a while until Maggie took me to pick wedding outfits. I had no idea about the wedding plans. I've been planning since the day we got the certificate. I wanted you to be my most handsome groom, she said. She envisioned it while painting that picture. Maggie handled almost everything for the wedding. I just got pulled by her mom for a few opinions here and there. We ran into Selena in the hotel garden while choosing a venue. I wanted to walk the other way, but she spotted me first. Samuel, please come back. I'll take care of you like Grandma said. For the rest of my life. The Smith is where you grew up. Do you not want me or our home anymore? I pulled my hand away from hers. All these years at the Smith, you never treated me like family. I got a new family now. All I hope is that you won't bother me in the future. Maggie's parents really like me, especially after they found out my parents passed away early and I had no other family. Maggie's mom held my hand with such empathy, saying she would be my mom from now on. Maggie gave me a home that I truly love. It's a home I can really fit into. In the Smith family, my only relative was Grandma. Now that she's gone, there's nothing left for me there. I saw Maggie come out, waved to her, and ran over. She helped tighten my coat and spoke with the hotel manager about some details. Selena stood there, her eyes following my back as I left. But that back never turned around. Selena's epilogue. I prided myself on never misreading people after all these years in business. But I never really understood Samuel, the person closest to me. I thought he had no one and could be easily controlled. But he went out once and suddenly grew a backbone. Grandma insisted we get married back then. I agreed verbally, but it was just a ceremony for her sake. I didn't register it officially, and he held back, not even complaining to Grandma. I found out early on that I couldn't have kids. Grandma feared my status in the Smith would be shaky, so she hurriedly pushed Samuel to marry me, claiming publicly that he needed treatment. I planted Jack's favorite magnolia right in front of him, watching his face go pale, finally knowing what he cared about. So when the man Michael, who looked like Jack, showed up, I agreed without hesitation. Sure enough, Samuel's face was ugly, but I never expected him to lose his temper and throw away our wedding ring. I always thought he was just a runaway kid, never realizing he'd grown up when I wasn't looking. I wasn't his only support anymore. He had a job, new friends, and even got married. I waited downstairs for the bodyguards to bring him back, only to hear from them that he had married. I nearly dropped my phone. He said he wanted to settle things with me, as if he wanted to cut ties for good. I got so upset that I got physical, only for that Maggie girl to stop me. I remember disliking her since she was a kid. I'm only a few years older than her, yet she called me auntie. She's grown up now and even more annoying. But Samuel looked at her with nothing but trust. He might not even realize it, but his eyes are full of her, while they're full of caution when he looks at me. Suddenly, I felt like I've lost something that I might never get back. I got their wedding invitation and the smiles in the photo almost blinded me. We had a grand wedding once too, but I couldn't even be bothered to take a photo with him. I left everything for the butler to handle, staying on the sidelines like a guest. He must have been disappointed about it, right? I got so used to him being around, taking his efforts for granted, always thinking he'd be there. But now I realize some people, once lost, will never belong to me again. He's left the Smith and I am left in the Smith forever.